Hey, this is Scott, and today I want to talk about this little guy, this little tilt and swivel monitor mount that I've been using in a lot of my recent videos. It's really been pretty awesome to use, so let's go ahead and take a look. So this is a hot shoe mount adapter from, I believe it's called Vikerer. I will put a link down in the video description so you can check out the pricing and other specs or availability of this depending on where you are. But as you can see, it does tilt and swivel or twist freely, and it has 360 degrees of rotation as well as 120 degrees of tilt, and it can hold about 2 kilograms, they say. I have this with the BM5, the Portkeys BM5 right now, and it's not an overly heavy monitor, but it's not super light either. And this is available at the moment only in a hot shoe style connection. So if you want something with a NATO attachment or maybe like a airy locking pin type connection, you're going to need something extra. There is a 1/4-20 screw thread on the bottom of this. So if you want to screw something additional into the bottom of there to help you connect it to, a NATO attachment, for example, you can do that, but it's not going to be the same as having a native design with the NATO attachment built into here. So I would like to see some more versions of this in the future. You have a screw here and another screw here, and if you loosen or tighten those, it will adjust the friction, the amount of resistance that you have, and they recommend not doing that because coming from the factory, it should be calibrated just right. However, I did find that at least this bottom screw here for me was a little bit unnecessarily tight when I first got it, so I went ahead and loosened it. I did originally loosen it more than I needed to, and it was too loose, and then I tried to tighten it up, and I got it at a good place now, I think, for me. But ideally this should come from the factory calibrated how it should be to get a good amount of resistance, so that way your monitor is not falling under its own weight. You have your twist style lockdown here to loosen or tighten it into your cold shoe or your hot shoe, and I do wish that this was a little bit larger because now it's about the same size as this metal part above it, and it can be a little bit tricky to get your fingers in there and tighten it really tightly because you're basically squeezing this upper metal part at the same time. So if this knob was a little bit larger, I would appreciate that just to make it a little bit easier to grab. And I guess the same goes for this here. It's a little bit better here because the round locking screw part does stick out from the actual unit itself. But still, if it were a little bit larger, it might be a little bit easier to grab and tighten or loosen. So a little bit larger on these wouldn't be bad. Also, as you can see now, when I twist this, I don't have any problems with the monitor coming loose from this actual screw. There is a little rubber ring that I will show you with some B-roll to hold this in place because it's just a single screw. There's no locking type pins or anything else here to prevent your monitor from spinning on here when you try to spin it. And with this monitor is metal, and I found that grip is grippy enough that it holds it in place, and I haven't had any problems with this actually coming loose from the mount itself. But when I was using it with some other monitors that are plastic, maybe a little bit more slippery, I found that the rubber that they had on here wasn't quite grippy enough, and I would have loved to have something a little bit more grippy, I guess, for the lack of a better word. But there is a rubber ring on here anyway that for a lot of monitors will do just fine in holding it in place, so that way you can spin and tilt it freely without this actually coming unattached. Otherwise, it's pretty minimal in size. It doesn't take up a lot of unnecessary space. It's not unnecessarily heavy, and it's really just worked pretty well. I mean, for me, I would love to have some different connections besides just a hot shoe connection. And I would love to have maybe, again, a little bit of a grippier rubber, maybe a little bit larger knobs here to get an easier control or easier to grab when you're trying to tighten and loosen these. But generally speaking, I have really loved using this, and it's been really great. It's not perfect, but it's really quite a nice way to be able to move your monitor around very freely and very quickly without having to loosen and tighten something every time you want to adjust it. So this is a very well-priced monitor mount, so don't forget to check the video description for a link to it to see the pricing and availability in your area. If you have any questions, let me know down below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you like this video or found it helpful, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to see more in the future, and as always, thank you for watching.